Welcome to The Truth in Its Art. I am your host, Rob Lee, and today I have the privilege of speaking with artist Amber Robles-Gordon. Welcome to the podcast.
Hello. Thank you.
Thank you for being a part of this. And I want to start off, I want to get dipped for those who are uninitiated, undipped, unfamiliar. Can you please introduce yourself and give us, why you got started in art, how you got started in art, and maybe that first art making experience?
Sure. So my name is Amber Robles-Gordon. It's actually Robles, but most people can't pronounce it that way. But I am a mixed media installation, sculptress. What else? Anything from collage to public artwork to site-specific installations and to textile sculptures. It feels funny saying this like for the umptieth time, but I've known I wanted to be an artist since I was 8, basically. It's always been either that or I wanted to be a singer because I had a voice at one point. But so my first art making experiences were absolutely with my mother. And, I always talk about how she used to have us, we had a creative closet in our home.
Yeah.
It was like, the hallway closet. It's one of the larger ones where it's supposed to be probably like a linen closet, like the long, more in-depth ones. Yeah. And ours was filled with creative supplies and games. And I don't know, come to think, I don't know where the hell she got that idea from, because I am so sure that my grandmother did not have a creative closet in my mom's home,
Right.
At least, what? Child, I'm going to have to research that. I have to figure that out, because I don't want to be hating on my grandmother for no reason. That's deep.
I like that you arrived at hold on.
Because my grandmother's creative in other ways, sure. But she is what I would call her like a plantress. She loves plants, and eventually I'm going to write about my grandmother. I'm going to create children's books about my grandmother, because my grandmother, and I'm going way off base, but just ride with me.
Like I said, this is your time. This is your time.
My grandmother worked for FEMA in the latter part of her life. And so she would literally, up and leave. And then she would come back. And of course, she'd have stories and experiences, but she'd also have plants. Yeah. So my grandmother traveled with plants, and she's taught me how to do that, with the cuttings and everything like that. And how you package them, and wet towels, and then, not towels, but paper towels. And, and so around her home in St. Thomas, she has plants from all over the world. So she's a treasure. But my first creative making experience was absolutely because of my mother. And I credit my mother for allowing me to have, for the authentic self that she allowed me to still remain, and still, set boundaries for me and teach me, and, because I'm sure I was a grand tour. Even at that age.
I like the way you described that, by the way. Grand tour. I'm going to start using that in future. I'm going to ask my mom, was I grand tour when I was younger?
Yes. Some of us absolutely were and are, and if you think about it, it really takes a certain type of love and parenting to be able to raise children that still have that much of their self-identity and their authentic selves remaining, because part of our society is about challenging, dissecting and redirecting some over energy.
Absolutely. I agree with that.
Yeah.
And as a person that has had these conversations with artists over as many conversations I've had, it rubs off and kind of reminding me and informing me. It's like, are you really you? And I try to insert more of who I am and what interests me outside of purely having a quizzical and interesting nature in people's art, which is why we're talking right now and I'm so excited about this. Right. But also being able to interject some of my yo, I heard that you like this movie. And then ask you a weird question about it, because I got rapid fire questions for you. You don't know about those yet.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, we're going to get through these and we'll get to those. That's the ones I'm always interested in. So tell me about this. Mofongo or no? What? Sorry. So I want to talk about this a little bit. So what process, materials, techniques do you use to create your work? And this is obviously I read it, but I want to have the people who are new listeners, potentially new followers, to learn about this. And with that, is there a connection between your message that's within your work and how you make your art?
Yeah, I absolutely believe that they coincide. It's a parallel conversation that I'm having, between the narrative and the medium. The whatever it is, the actual aesthetic that I'm using in relationship to convey a subject matter. And for me, it's very, very important that they coincide with each other.
Sure.
So, for example, and that's one of the reasons why I work in a various amount of mediums. It really depends on what the hell I'm trying to convey. Yeah. And that helps me choose whether I'm talking through speaking through a collage or speaking through a sculpture, textile, or found objects, or something totally different. Or it's working with talking sticks and weaving them. And I believe that materiality is an extension of, or can be an extension of what you're trying to convey. Yeah. And I actually think some people miss the mark sometimes in what they produce because of the materials they actually choose.
Okay. Okay, because I've seen a few different things where people are working with mixed media, they're working with found objects, textiles, and I'm like, okay, this is what I'm seeing here, but then, and sometimes I'm not able to do what I'm doing now and have a conversation with the artist about the work. Just so why this versus this to convey this, and that would be an informational and very really cool conversation to have with someone. I have a few people in mind, and I think what you said there a moment of maybe some of the choices you can miss the mark. So now it kind of gave me a few more questions. It gave me a few more questions. Thanks. I'm going to reference you, by the way.
No.
Yes.
The other thing is that I also believe that, I don't believe that anything is pure anymore. And I even question whether that ever was. Just like the word, we had this conversation. I'm in a home with a curator and right now and another artist, and we had a really good conversation last night about the word perfect. Why does it exist? And who is it for? And why do we still hold it over each other and hold it over ourselves? And so, part of that and what you were just saying is why do we use? There's nothing that is pure. And so when I'm looking at artwork and I'm looking at even creating it myself, I tend to be more drawn to things that incorporate actual aspects, materials, and narratives about our environment. And I don't know how to explain this, but mixing them. For example, pure painting, it doesn't rock my boat anymore. And I question, Lord, I'm getting way into my own personal, but I just think that more of our world is about mixes, matches, combinations. Even if you look at my view right now, I'm looking at this ranges of plants that are just bellowing in the wind. And I think that art should reflect life. And there's no aspect of our life that is pure this and pure that. And so for me, that hybridism that you're going to ask me about in the next couple of questions and or, mixed media, to me, it's more of a reflection of my actual environment, my actual reality, and even actual cellular makeup. Even when it comes to how we what is the cycle of how we get rid of ourselves and build them back up and through
cellular regeneration and all of that?
Yes. Yeah. So
No, thank you. And I think you're right. And again, already through the first few minutes of this conversation, I feel like I'm going to have a lot to chew on afterwards. So thank you for that. Because I think, you've already answered the next question. So thank you for reading ahead. How dare you?
A hybridism question, correct?
Yeah. Yeah, that's the next one. Yeah. So how would you share that definition with us? I think you touched on it. But yeah, what is that definition? But I like the point that you made about that purity thing. Like, it's not really a thing. We strive for this. Sometimes it's overly sanitized, this idea of perfection, and it's like it's not a thing. It's not real. It's like there's always something else you can do. There's always a different thing, and you lose that authenticity when you over sanitize or aim for that perfection.
And I think it's a derivative of colonialism. It's a derivative of white supremacism. It's a derivative of the mindset that takes that has allowed for generations of people to stay in a structure and environments and mindsets that were not meant for them.
Yeah.
It's a derivative of it. So in my interpretation, so hybridism for me is a way that I was able to, I guess, have come to terms with my identity, because I was born in Puerto Rico, raised in Arlington, Virginia, and Arlington, Virginia was fucking hard on a Black girl's soul, and a Black Latina girl's soul. And so, and then don't even throw in like gender when it comes to like puberty, and you start to grow into your body and your environment around you. It's like, well, it was a mess. It was hard as hell. Yeah. And then as I continued to grow, I push against, some of the norms about how women are supposed to act, and then about what you want for yourself in relationship to careers. Like I know I want to be an artist, and it doesn't matter what you say, I'm going to figure out how to make these things happen. Right. Then there's a little bit of advocacy voice in me even early on. And I remember getting in trouble, for things that I did not cause, and then also for standing up for people, and for myself. So all of these things that equate to aspects of who I am and my character when it comes to being an Afro-Latina, being, in addition to, in this society, having brown skin and people considering that to be under the auspice of being either African-American or Black. And so that also was part of my identity. And then being, a woman. Yeah. All of those things have just think of the metaphysical Jenga that is my my DNA and my character, So hybridism was one of the ways in which, I was able to rationalize to myself through my art, through my narrative, through my voice. Yeah. So
I'm stealing that metaphysical Jenga. I'm stealing it. So I'm going to skip ahead because you're hitting everything. You like it's like you already know the answer. It's like you already had the questions. Although
I didn't read all the questions, just so you know.
Nor should you. But because I think that leads to a more real response and real conversation versus let me hit this bullet point and we're done. 10 minutes. So tell me about being an innovator and challenging norms. And I think that would be a nice point to come off of as to what we were kind of just discussing there. But why is it important for your art, but also art at large, to challenge those norms and to try to be innovative?
I have found that it's just been necessary for me. I don't know that it was, especially in this industry. If you think about the people that have walked the paths prior, when it comes to professional artists, it's such a white male dominated industry. And then underscore every other man underneath that. And then somewhere along that is women. And then you go by race, which is unfortunate as well, but to line up in order the women as well. And some of that you honestly do have to kick out of your brain in order to pursue this career. There's a certain amount of crazy I believe that an artist has to have in order to potentially exist and function and create a business and entrepreneurship as a artist. Okay, repeat your question, because between the beautiful plants outside and birds, and then me trying to.
Tell me about being an innovator and challenging norms, and why is that important within art, specifically yours or art at large?
I don't know of any other way to come to the point that I'm in my life right now.
Yeah.
I don't think that I would have been able to get where I am right now in my personhood and my career if I had not had the will to challenge. Yeah. And if I didn't have the innate knowledge that I deserve what it is that I deemed for myself.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And I say that because I don't think that everybody has that. And not that I'm putting myself somewhere else versus person here. That's not. I'm saying that it's so utterly important, and I believe that we all have it in some ways, you know, because I also believe that it's an innate gift. Yeah. But I do think it's in other areas versus like someone else. It's about science, you know. Someone else, it's about writing. But I also know that it's a muscle. You have to work at it. In various aspects of your existence, you know, depending on where you are in your cycle of life. Absolutely. It's a muscle. It's necessary. But I will say not everybody has that in that way. Not everybody has. It's a weird thing. Not everybody is going to challenge the norm. And I wonder if we're supposed to. I don't know. That's a question that I ask myself in debates that I have with myself about how people show up in the world. You know, what would happen to our society if more of us broke norms? I don't even think that the world is ready for that conversation. In fact, the structures that are in place, it tells me that they're not ready for that conversation.
Well, in many ways, that's what the movie The Matrix is about, right? Like, are you going to pull out of that? And right. I think your notion, and I agree with it, that it is a muscle. It is, you have to like put that out. So when I got to a spot where I needed to advocate for myself, and I find myself advocating more for myself, it's like, oh, don't tread water, just work hard. And it's like, no. Disrespectfully or respectfully, I want what's mine, and I want that now. And knowing what I bring to it and really having that faith is something that it felt freeing to say that versus making myself smaller for somebody else. And I'm a black man or what have you, and I have whatever my set is. But I think when you have more things that are around you, have to be that much more innovative. You have to challenge that many more norms. And it's like, no, I'm doing this. What you gonna say about it? What you gonna do about it? Nothing? All right, cool. I'm going to keep doing it. So this is the advocacy question, and I remember you touching on it a little bit earlier. I read you've been an advocate for Washington, D.C. area arts, that community, the arts community. Could you share a few things that folks might not know about the community? Because, you know, for some places, they don't have art there. What? You know, you hear it all the time.
Yeah, that's just craziness right there. Well, I always believe that, because I live in Southeast Washington, D.C., and it is wonderful to be able to have seen its growth and its transition in so many ways, specifically in the art world. What I've liked is have seen that more of the people that are able to create that growth or able to initiate some of that growth in relationship to funding and, you know, to be more of people of color. Absolutely, goddammit. Excuse me, G-O-D. But, you know, I am still grateful that the people that have contributed and made some of those foundations and those things are still thriving. And I know of projects that are being spearheaded and they're working to continue to make change by people of color. And I'm prayerful, you know, that they will manifest. But there is so much that little part of the city, to some extent, when it comes to artists, when it comes to people that are creatives, that are happening. I just recently saw a documentary about the RI. It's called the RIP something. You ever heard of that? No. You should actually reach out to that dude. He is a photographer that does one of those T-shirt shops. Mm-hmm. And the rest in peace T-shirts that people have for their after a family member dies. Yes. And so what's happened is that, I think what happened for him, this photographer, is that he realized that at the end of the day, how much of his income was coming from kids and young people of color dying. Right. And then coming in and requesting the T-shirts so that they can wear to the memorials, the services, and just wear in memoriam of their fallen family members and friends. But even I didn't realize that they've even figured out a funding system. So, for example, if I'm not mistaken, so the sales. The shirt portion goes back when it's specifically a RIP shirt. Portion goes back to the photographer for his service, but also they're used to fundraise to be able to build up the funds to bury the person who's killed. Wow! And I thought that was so. It's phenomenal. I also equate that to some of the progression, the recent things that Kaepernick has done in relationship to having a fund for people to have a second opinion when it comes to a coroner report. Yeah. And I'm thinking it bewilders me how people of color in this society, in this world, have to have these dual systems alongside the frigging government and or things that are in place that everybody should have access to, equal access and the right type of access, not jaded with race and bias and things like that. Anyway, I so went off.
No. And these are things that are baked in, and I'm riding the same wave. I'm there with you. And as you look at it, you're like, we have to almost save ourselves. We have to be able to fulfill and work within our communities and come up with ways to know about these systems that have these biases baked in. And that's what we have to do. We have to bake this. I was literally having this conversation with a curator yesterday about how can we find funding? How can we do X, Y, and Z to help? And one of the ideas that I threw out, I was like, I know what my minimum is. I'll ask for this. And then I'm on Adidas Zamiro that joint. Like, photographers, you need some what's your cash app? I'm going to send you some money, to help you out, because everything has gone up. Inflation has definitely affected artists. And if I can be in this spot that I'm in, having this platform, it's like it would be on me. At least I take it as in a service sort of way. How can I help? How can I use what I'm doing to help? And someone mentioned to me recently, it's like, I haven't known too many people who are in the arts world actually have a salary, because I have a day job as a data analyst. I was like, don't make fun of me, firstly, but also it's about really helping and trying to foster and keep these things alive, especially with people that look like you and I.
Mm-hmm. It's important. It absolutely is.
So I got two more questions and then these rapid fire questions where all of the goodwill that I've established with you, I'm going to piss it all away. Just so you know, just like, you're like, I don't know about that Rob guy. All right. So what has your career taught you about the importance of professional benchmarks, kind of moving towards certain things, whether it be, I need to get better at this as a professional, where do I want to go? What keeps you interested? Things of that nature. What has your career taught you about professional benchmarks?
So what that triggers me to remember is, by 16, I don't know if this is probably going to age the hell, just really tell you how old I am. But when I was 16, I think it was 16, my mother gave me a Franklin Covey. I don't know how old you are, come to think of it. Do you remember Franklin Covey?
7 Habits of Highly Effective People, that kind of Franklin Covey?
Yeah, it's it was like a system, an organizing system, an agenda, right? And it was a whole, anyway. And so I had been keeping an agenda since, since I was 16. And then I would have 5-year, 10-year, 20-year plan, that type of thing. Yeah. Now, it's funny because I will say that like, for example, a good portion of those things I've already completed. And the only thing is that it's kind of like exercising. In fact, it is like exercising. When life happens, then you have to figure out how to get back on track. Mm-hmm. Like, for example, in that analogy, if you break your ankle, sprain your ankle or whatever, you then have to figure out how do you adjust your eating habits, you adjust your either work out your top of your body with weights or whatever it is, to continue to address your health. Because it's for me, it's not necessarily about the number on this scale. It's about the cells that you are and your what do you call those? The hormones that you're creating as you are doing this, because it's a conversation that you're having with yourself that stimulates a conversation that you're having with yourself cellularly, your actual body, and then your head, your thoughts, and that ongoing using and toning of your muscles, your thoughts, your ideas is imperative. Just the same type of work that you would want to do in relationship to using the muscle of writing or using the muscle of drawing and or creating, your body needs that as well. Okay, so I hate when I do that, when I go way off and then I'm like, okay, bring me back in. Well, what the hell was I supposed to be talking about?
So, but I think you got a lot of it in there where you're talking about like benchmarks or what have you, and it's taught you to check in. It's taught you that you have them, and you've like kind of got at least that's what I was hearing, at least that
it was. Thank you.
Okay, because I mean, like, I went to a business school. I'm 37. I went to a business school, and we had the Stephen and the Franklin Covey, and so I think father and son, and it's like 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, planning out things. What are your goals looking like? Yeah. And as I've done this podcast, and I'm in season 6 of this podcast, I'm like, nice. All right, thank you. And like, what am I doing to add more value? What am I doing to really with this, as you kind of touched on when we began, you may have answered that question many times before, but there's going to be something that you've had to think about in a different way, or in previous interviews people have listened to you. It's like, I didn't know that about Amber. So now it's a new detail, and that's what I've tried to add in there. Let's get to a lower level. Affirming
to yourself. Each time you say that, you are reaffirming, you're reconnecting to that energy, that cellular muscle, cellular memory, in your brain, at least for me. Yeah. Like, even when people have already said my name, when they introduce me, I absolutely say my name again.
Mm-hmm. I like to call myself Wave Daddy, just so people know what's up. And, it works. Sometimes it doesn't. I'm the Aquarius side, Wave Daddy. It works. Sometimes it doesn't. I'll just say that. So with that other question is already done. You already answered it. So So you know what time it is. It's time to hit these rapid fire ones.
All right, let's see what you got.
No, you're gonna crush this. You're gonna crush this. I assure you. Name one of your favorite books.
Ooh.
You're very well read, I'm hearing, and you have I'm looking at the aesthetic too. Well read, well glasses. The earrings, the whole setup is great.
Oh, thank you. See, look, my arrangements, my adornment for the day.
I'm a fan. I was just like, hold up. So, what's one of your favorite books? What comes to mind for you?
Man,
that means there's a list.
Yes, I'm trying to figure out. So, I don't know that I have a favorite book. I have favorites. Like what comes to mind is Octavia Butler. I love Octavia Butler for various reasons. What else? Mick, what was the last books that we read together? With Larry and Zoe, well, the author, the woman author, I can't remember her name.
Octavia?
No, not Octavia, the other one. The one about love.
Oh, Bell Hooks.
Bell Hooks.
Okay.
Yeah, I love Bell Hooks. What else? I do a lot of audiobooks as well.
Me too.
The last one I read was, last one I listened to was The Elephant in the Room. No, The Elephant in the Mind. That was interesting. So I try to do a lot of reading, but I don't know that I have favorites in that way, but I absolutely love books that challenge norms.
Well, I mean, and that goes back to that previous question.
Right?
All right.
Books that make you think twice about your environment, about your life, and about the way that you perceive yourself and others.
Thank you.
Yeah. That's my answer.
No, I appreciate it. I appreciate it. I've been on that deep dive, that Robert Greene deep dive to how to, as I get into more spaces and meet different types of people and different personalities, it's like, all right, how can I navigate through these better and stay afloat? And it's just like, you just listen to them over and over again. I'll be in the gym doing something, working out or what have you. And then I like key in on something. I was like, all right, that's giving me something for a question. That's giving me something for a thought that I can lead to a different question. And sometimes they pop up in these interviews and they're like, damn, I didn't know what, huh? Say that, run that by me again. Where did that come from?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I just thought about de la Maisonnée. And I say that with a Spanish accent, but that's not how you pronounce his name.
That was great, though. That was great.
Yeah, thank you. Of Spirit, what was it? Of Spirit and the Water, I think it's the title. And then How to Hide an Empire. That was a good book as well, by Daniel Immerwahr.
So I got 3 more for you. Mm-hmm. What is the last song that you've listened to? Because obviously you're hanging out. You're in a much better place than I am. So I feel like great tunes have been played recently. So what's something that you've played recently? Yeah, it seems like we were jamming in the car. Yes, we were. What was the song that I hadn't heard of last night that Araya Star?
Bloody Samaritan.
Who?
Bloody Samaritan.
Bloody Samaritan. I had never heard of that song before.
I'm going to add this to the list of things I'm going to look out.
Me too. It's a nice song, yeah.
And now, because DC is not far from me, and I need to kind of get some places to check out. Again, I'm stealing. What these questions are really for is me to steal. This is a food and bev related question. Okay. What is your go-to place like in DC, what have you? And what do you order?
I still like, El Tamarindo. And, what is the other one? It's right. They have 2 locations and they're both on Pennsylvania Avenue. Oh, why can't I remember the name? Chat. I believe it's a Mexican restaurant. It's on Pennsylvania Avenue. I cannot remember the name. My apologies.
No worries.
But I love salads. So I love, what's that other place? Come on, give me a salad restaurant name.
I don't eat.
Not Chopped. I don't like Chopped. What's the other one?
Sweet Greens? No.
Yes, it is.
Really? You. It's Sweet Greens? Nice. I just threw a Hail Mary. I was like, it's going to hit something.
You got it. You caught it. Exactly.
It's like Amber's there somewhere. This is the last one. And this is always a funny one. Describe yourself as an emoji. What emoji best represents you? And maybe there's none.
You hear this? I'm like, I don't know.
Mine's is that red demon with the beard. That's what mine's is. It's just
Lord,
I'm reddish, and I used to have more facial hair. I'm not a demon, though. Maybe. I don't know.
I don't know. Damn it, you should have sent me that one. That's the one I needed to prep for.
Well, what's your most commonly used emoji? Are you an emoji person? Because that could be a thing.
Yeah. So my most commonly used emoji is saying thank you, the prayer. Like when people say nice things about my art, and thank you. I appreciate that. So.
Well, see, again, segues. That's all I got. That's all I got for you. So I want to thank you for being on the podcast. See, make an emoji out of me. I want to thank you for being on the podcast, and I want to encourage and invite you to tell the fine folks, the listeners, where to check you out, your work, and all that good stuff. And anything that you have coming up, feel free to plug away.
Okay. So yeah, I'm on Instagram, and it's just my name, Amber Robles-Gordon. Facebook, my website is amberrobles-gordon.com. And one of my next exhibits is going to be in Tennessee, and it will be an iteration of the successions traversing U.S. colonialism. It'll be part of an extension of that conversation about my own heritage, being of Puerto Rican and Caribbean descent, and the treatment of people of color in Puerto Rico and the other U.S. territories, Guam, American Samoa, USVI, which is St. John, St. Croix, and St. Thomas, Northern Mariana Islands, I'm missing one, the federal district that is District of Columbia, and who am I missing? Guam, American Samoa, Northern Mariana Islands. Okay, I think I got everybody. Puerto Rico. Yeah, I got everybody. And that'll be in Tennessee, and it'll be at Tinny Contemporary in May. So, next up.
Thank you. So there you have it, folks. I want to thank again Amber Robles-Gordon for being on the podcast. And I'm Rob Lee, saying that there is art in and around your city. You just got to look for it.